My precious child, your guardian angels have gathered with an urgent message meant only for you. I ask that you pause with me for just a moment in the midst of your busy life. Find a quiet space where the world's noise fades away. Take a deep breath in and slowly release it. Again, feel your shoulders relaxing, your mind clearing. There's something profoundly important I need to share with you today. I've been watching you. I've witnessed every moment of your journey, both the triumphs that made your spirit soar and the devastation that brought you to your knees. I saw them walk away from you. I observed how that single moment of abandonment shattered something fundamental within you, how it rippled through every aspect of your being. I heard those quiet sobs that escaped your lips in the darkness of night when you thought no one was listening. I felt the weight of questions that kept you awake. Why wasn't I enough? What could I have done differently? How do I move forward from here? But beloved, do you know what else I witnessed? I saw you rise. When the morning came after those tear-soaked nights, I watched as you gathered each broken fragment of your heart. You held those sharp-edged pieces close, even when they cut into your palms. You didn't discard them or try to hide them away. You honored your pain because somewhere deep within, you understood that these broken pieces were still precious, still sacred, still worthy of being tenderly held. I observed how, day by day, you made the courageous choice to grow instead of allowing yourself to wither. When bitterness knocked at your door, and it did repeatedly, you acknowledged its presence but refused to invite it in to stay. You chose a harder path, one of healing and expansion, rather than the easier road of resentment and contraction. And now, that person who walked away from you, they can't tear their eyes from the miracle of your transformation. They never anticipated the strength that would emerge from your brokenness, the radiance that would eventually shine through your cracks. They never expected you to not just survive their absence, but to thrive beyond anything they could have imagined. But I knew, I always knew. They believed they had you figured out. They thought they understood the sum total of who you were and what you could become. In their limited perception, they placed you in a box of their own making, with boundaries drawn by their own expectations and insecurities. But what they fundamentally misunderstood is that you were barely at the beginning of your journey. The person they knew was just a preliminary sketch of the masterpiece I had designed you to be. When they turned their back and walked away, leaving nothing but silence and unanswered questions, they genuinely believed they were leaving you diminished, reduced, broken beyond repair. They couldn't see what I saw. They failed to understand a fundamental truth that governs my kingdom. Broken things in my hands don't remain broken. They become sacred vessels. Brokenness isn't the end of your story. It's often the beginning of your most profound transformation. They never witnessed the quiet strength I was carefully pouring into you during those midnight hours when despair threatened to consume you. They weren't present for the moments when you couldn't even form words for your prayers, when all you could offer were tears and fragmented thoughts. I heard every unspoken word. I collected every tear. I understood every unuttered cry of your heart. They never saw the heavenly guardians I assigned to walk beside you when the world felt too harsh, too cold, too indifferent to your pain. When human comfort fell short, when well-meaning words failed to reach the depths of your wound, my angels surrounded you, creating a sanctuary of divine presence when you needed it most. And now they watch from a distance, their certainty replaced by amazement, their confidence shaken by astonishment. They observe the undeniable evidence of your transformation, and it confounds them. It's as though they are drawn to your light like moths to a flame, yet simultaneously frightened by its intensity. They never expected this version of you to emerge from the ashes of what they left behind. What they're witnessing is the divine light I placed within you from the very beginning, that eternal spark that no human rejection could ever extinguish. It's the light that paradoxically grows brighter when exposed to the darkness of pain and disappointment. This luminescence isn't something new I've given you. It's always been there, waiting for the right conditions to fully manifest. Yes, you've changed, but not in the superficial ways the world recognizes change. You haven't simply adopted new habits, or altered your appearance, or achieved external markers of success, though these things may indeed be part of your journey. Your transformation runs infinitely deeper. You've changed in spirit, in purpose, in the fundamental essence of who you are. You've changed in how you carry your heart now, with more grace, more wisdom, more authentic strength, more of my divine nature evident in your humanity. That person who departed can sense this profound shift, even if they can't articulate it. Something in their soul registers that you are fundamentally not the same person they left behind, and this realization haunts their quiet moments. They departed believing they were abandoning someone defined by weakness and need. They had no way of knowing they were actually walking away from someone chosen, someone destined for a purpose far beyond the boundaries of that relationship. I remember those nights when doubt threatened to overwhelm you, when you questioned everything, your worth, your path, the very fabric of love itself. I heard every question you hurled into the seeming void. Why did they have to leave? Why couldn't they recognize the value of what was being offered? Why did love, which should feel like the safest harbor, instead feel like the cruelest form of abandonment? But my precious child, let me share something profound with you. Their departure wasn't a random act of cruelty or a meaningless chapter of pain in your story. It was the catalyst for your awakening. I didn't orchestrate their leaving. I honor the free will of all my children, but I did use what was meant to destroy you as the very foundation for your rebuilding. I needed you to experience that season of solitude, not because I wanted to witness your suffering, but because I longed for you to finally see yourself through my eyes, not through the distorted lens of their perception. They could never love you with the depth and perfection you deserved because they never truly saw the fullness of who you were created to be. Their vision was clouded by their own unresolved wounds, their own limitations, their own incomplete understanding of love. But I saw you fully. I always have. I perceived every hidden dimension of your spirit, every untapped potential, every dormant gift waiting to be awakened. And now you're beginning to walk in the authentic identity I bestowed upon you from the beginning, not the reduced version they attempted to impose upon you through their expectations and demands. They left expecting you to fade into silence, to diminish in their absence. Instead, what echoes back to them is the powerful sound of your growth. It resonates through everything you do now, from the smallest daily actions to your most significant life choices. The way you laugh now, it's different. There's an authentic freedom in it, unburdened by the need for approval. The way you move through the world, there's a quiet power in your steps that wasn't there before. The way you speak, your words now carry wisdom born from experience rather than theories borrowed from others. And yes, they see it all. I allow their awareness of your transformation, not to torment them, but because even though they can no longer access your life directly, I want them to witness what divine favor looks like when it embraces someone who has been refined by fire. You're no longer the person who chases after those who choose to leave. You've stopped running after validation and approval. Instead, you've become a force of attraction, drawing toward you the people, opportunities, and blessings that align with your authentic self. You've ceased begging for scraps of affection and recognition. Instead, you're becoming the full expression of who I created you to be, and that process of becoming is the most powerful testimony of your worth. My child, you have no comprehension of how many lives are being transformed simply by witnessing how gloriously you're blooming after being discarded. Your story is silently inspiring others who find themselves in similar valleys of rejection and abandonment. They often wonder now, those who left you behind, how did this metamorphosis occur? They clearly remember when you were hesitant to speak your truth, unsure of your place in the world, constantly making yourself smaller to accommodate their comfort and convenience. They recall how you would apologize for merely existing in your full brilliance, how you would dim your light to avoid outshining others. But now you stand in your authentic power without apology. You've stopped diminishing yourself to make others feel adequate. You no longer chase after what chooses to walk away. Instead, you walk steadfastly with me, and they cannot take their eyes off the miracle of your transformation. They observe your newfound strength like spectators at a film whose ending defied all expectations. They scroll through glimpses of your life, trying desperately to identify the moment everything changed, searching for some explanation for this version of you that they never imagined possible. But they're looking in the wrong places. The change wasn't instantaneous. It was gradual, built day by day through countless small choices to believe in your worth even when evidence seemed scarce. What they don't realize is that when they walked away, they didn't just leave you. They unintentionally released you. They freed you from the confining patterns, the arbitrary limitations, the suffocating smallness they had constructed around your identity. What they labeled as rejection, I recognized as divine redirection. What they perceived as an ending, I knew was merely the opening chapter of your authentic story. You shed tears over their departure because you loved deeply and without reservation. That was never weakness. It was evidence of the beautiful capacity of your heart to connect genuinely with others. But now those tears have transformed into something powerful. They've become the roots of an unshakable faith, the foundation of a strength that doesn't depend on external validation. Those roots have grown into something they never anticipated, an unshakable confidence in your inherent worth that no human rejection can ever again demolish. I understand that you still feel it occasionally, that dull ache that visits in quiet moments when memories surface unexpectedly. That's perfectly natural. Healing doesn't mean forgetting the past as if it never happened. True healing is remembering without being destroyed by the memory. It's acknowledging what was without allowing it to determine what will be. It's carrying the lessons without being weighed down by the pain. Look at how far you've come. You've stopped obsessively questioning why they couldn't choose you, why they couldn't see what was so clearly being offered. Instead, you've begun to understand that perhaps their leaving wasn't about your inadequacy, but about my protection. Not everyone who enters your life is meant to remain there permanently. Some relationships are seasons, not lifetimes. Some departures, though painful, are sacred interventions preventing you from settling for less than the fullness of what I've designed for you. They didn't expect this version of you to emerge, this person who smiles genuinely even without their presence, who rises each morning with purpose rather than desperation, who enters rooms with the quiet confidence of someone who knows they belong exactly where they are. The radiance they're drawn to now, the glow that both attracts and unsettles them, it's not you trying harder or performing better. It's my presence shining through you. I've been with you all along, even in those moments when you questioned if I had abandoned you too. I whispered courage into your spirit when surrender seemed the only option. I stood beside you in the refining fire until it burned away every false narrative they had written over your identity. I held your hand through each lonely night when the silence felt deafening. And now, every step you take resonates with my presence. They can't stop watching because they cannot comprehend how someone they deemed disposable has become so magnificently powerful. But I understand completely. I authored this redemptive story long before they made the choice to leave. Do you recognize that profound peace you carry now, the one that surrounds you even when circumstances aren't perfect? That tranquility doesn't originate from external sources. It flows directly from my spirit to yours. You've learned to cherish yourself, not from a place of arrogance or entitlement, but from a deep reverence for the divine fingerprint I've placed upon your soul. You see yourself as precious now, not because of what others affirm about you, but because you've finally embraced my declaration over your life. You no longer require their validation because you've received my confirmation, and that is the only opinion that truly matters. I commanded the winds of adversity to propel you forward rather than knock you down, and they obeyed. I instructed your pain to transform into purpose, and it blossomed into something beautiful. You are indeed not who you once were, and that evolution is something to celebrate, not mourn. Let them observe from a distance. Let them wonder at the miracle they walked away from. Your transformation wasn't orchestrated for their approval or to prove them wrong. It was for your anointing, your divine calling. And my child, your calling speaks volumes now about who you truly are, and always were beneath the layers of doubt they helped create. They sometimes find themselves remembering things they thought they had forgotten. The melodious sound of your uninhibited laughter, the way your eyes used to light up with hope when you looked at them, the dreams you shared when your heart still believed in the possibility of forever with them. But that version of you has evolved, not because bitterness consumed you or brokenness defined you, but because wisdom has refined you. You're not characterized by anger toward them. You've simply outgrown the person they thought they knew. They only experienced the surface dimensions of who you were, mistaking your gentleness for weakness, your willingness to compromise for a lack of boundaries, your forgiveness for an absence of self-respect. They failed to recognize that you were always a miracle unfolding, a divine masterpiece in progress. Their inability to perceive your true worth doesn't diminish what I've deposited within you. I've watched how you've begun to love others with greater authenticity now, not from a place of desperate need for reciprocation, but from the overflow of what I've restored within your heart. Your kindness isn't performed for attention or acknowledgement. It flows naturally because your heart has been remade to reflect my image more clearly. Your healing doesn't require announcements or declarations. It manifests evidently through your daily choices. It reveals itself in how you extend forgiveness even when no apology has been offered. It shows in how you silently bless those who would never think to bless you in return, how you pray for the well-being of those who caused your pain. This profound inner transformation is what leaves them astonished. The change isn't merely cosmetic or behavioral. It's foundational, eternal, emanating from the core of your being with ever-increasing brightness each day. They observe how you've ceased chasing after closure, how you no longer need their explanations or apologies to move forward. You've discovered that true peace isn't found in their words or acknowledgments. It resides in my presence that never leaves you, no matter who else chooses to depart. I've sealed the doors they left ajar. I've written definitive endings where they left unresolved questions. In place of all the what-ifs that once tormented you, I've provided clarity, not because every mystery has been solved, but because you've learned to trust me even when the full picture remains incomplete. You're beginning to understand that some people exit your life not because you failed, but because they cannot accompany you where I'm leading. They served their purpose in a particular chapter, but my child, you're now stepping into an entirely new volume of your story. Those who chose to leave now observe your unfolding journey from a distance. Sometimes they feel compelled to reach out. They compose messages only to delete them. They study glimpses of your life, trying to determine if you remain the same person they left behind. But that version of you no longer exists. That identity was laid to rest in the soil of the pain they inflicted, and what has risen in its place is someone neither of you could have anticipated. Someone who doesn't merely survive life's disappointments but thrives beyond them. Someone who doesn't need constant affirmation to feel validated, because you've finally internalized the truth that my gaze is always upon you, and that is sufficient. There's something you may not fully realize. You're inspiring countless others without even being aware of it. People are quietly observing how you carry yourself after devastation, how you continue to rise when giving up would have been understandable, how you choose compassion in a world that taught you to expect disappointment. And yes, even the one who walked away is taking notice. They can't help but contemplate the distance you've traveled without them, and somewhere in the recesses of their heart, they question whether leaving was the greatest mistake they ever made. But I don't want you fixated on their potential regret, or waiting for them to recognize what they discarded. I want you to continue your forward movement, to keep shining, to fully become who you were always meant to be. Your destiny isn't tethered to their recognition. It's bound to my eternal promise over your life. You've transformed in how you navigate the world now. There's an unmistakable confidence in your presence, not born from arrogance or a need to prove your worth, but emerging from the quiet assurance of someone who has weathered storms that would have destroyed a lesser spirit. You no longer feel compelled to justify your existence or defend your value. You simply are, a living embodiment of light, of grace, of healing made tangible. The person who chose to walk away is confronted daily with evidence of what they abandoned. But more significantly, you're reminded every day of who walks alongside you now, me. I never left your side, even when human companionship failed. I never turned away, even when your questions had no easy answers. Even in your darkest moments, when hope seemed like a distant memory, I stood firmly beside you, whispering promises of restoration. This pain is temporary. You will rise again. This ending is making space for a new beginning.